What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of TripleKO. I am here with myself, Mr. Matt McMuscles, and Mr. Maximilian Dood. How's everyone doing today? You guys doing fantastic?
Max is doing great.
I'm so ready to ship this game. Yes, I'm doing good. I'm nearing the end of a very long journey.
You know, it's one of those things where, like, it is December, so sickness will be upon us because, kids and everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
But, besides us being sick and us being busy, fighting game news has that never been busier than ever before. They just keep coming out. Before we had a little 2D fighting game streak, but I feel like this week, 3D fighting games definitely won so much, right? Especially with the Game Awards announcements. And the first big thing we have to talk about is Clive in Tekken 8. I know it's not Tifa, but it's Clive from Final Fantasy 16. How do we feel about Clive? I didn't play Final Fantasy 16, actually.
See, Clive, a lot of people pronounce that name differently. I pronounce it Tifa.
Okay.
If you change the letters totally
a little bit
and sounded different,
you're getting somewhere with there.
I'll throw over to Max for this because, like, or both of you, it's just like people going, he really doesn't fit in Tekken. And there's the other school of thought is like, perfect guess then. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I get that.
Yeah.
Like, that's a perfect guess if they don't fit. But it's like, I'd rather have Tifa because she fits and that she's all melee.
I mean,
like,
sure.
that just makes sense to me. Yeah. But I still like Clive. I played Final Fantasy 16, did not beat it yet.
Yeah.
And I think something Max said at some point was like, the best part about Final Fantasy 16
is Clive.
Okay.
So,
is he the main character? So is he the main character?
It's the best part.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's just cool.
All I got to say is that Matt provided another opinion that I have to say, because I talked about it last night with my chat, and I'm like, you know what, chat? There's some poignant things to talk about with Clive, and it's that, this dude shows up, or a character shows up to a game, and he doesn't feel like he belongs in this game. He's like, this guy belongs in Soul Calibur. This dude shows up and he's got a sword, and it's like, well, clearly we're doing mainly sword combat. That's another game that's much better fitted for is Soul Calibur. Dude shows up from a game and is like, well, that game maybe wasn't entirely popular or had some people that didn't like it, and maybe that isn't the best call to expand Tekken. And just in general, it's not the guest character I wanted. It should have been somebody else.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about Clive. I'm talking about Noctis.
Oh, you want him back? Noctis back?
What I'm saying is that every impression I just said was for Noctis back in 2017.
Dude, all the Noctis mains are happy. Look, shout outs to FDX. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's happy because Clive is in the game, another sword character. But yeah, I didn't play 16, so I have no attachment to Clive, but I would probably be where everyone else is. Where's Tifa? I would rather have Tifa, right? That's my thing.
Yeah.
You should give Final Fantasy 16 a go because it's a very solid action game and a pretty poor RPG in that it just is a good action game and all the RPG stuff. If you're like, because I know you've been playing like Metaphor and like some other RPGs this year, so if you're a little burnt out, it's like a really good action game with some RPG elements tacked in. And Clive is like the center dude. Like, he has this crazy moveset, and a moveset that is so crazy and evolved that, like, he is a good fit for a fighting game.
Yeah.
And he looks like he would decimate the entire cast, Mishima's included, just based on his moveset alone.
He would. He summons a Ifrit in his rage art, which is pretty sick. And I really like it's very dynamic, like the rage arts and the rage smash. But I would say the stage, though, I think the stage was pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? You got is that the other summon? Was that Quetzalcoatl? Am I pronouncing that right?
No, he effectively uses like a bunch of different summons. The Phoenix, it's his brother, is the one that jumps in the background every once in a while and interrupts the stage.
Okay, yeah.
Max, what did you think about seeing the text like Joshua Rosefield collaboration pack?
Yeah, I'm
so
actually kind of happy with that one because that's sort of cool gear. It's Joshua's later, like older self gear.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
cool,
this will look pretty sick on other male characters, and because Jill is getting a costume for the game too. Yeah, I don't know. I think there was a moment in that reveal where I was worried about who it could be and which guest character it could be, and effectively they took the very safe route. And now we're sitting here 7-8 years later after the first Final Fantasy inclusion in Tekken, going through the exact same process again with people saying the exact same things they did back in 2017, 2018 when Noctis was first shown. It's weird. And I have to tell everybody this. All the impressions I'm reading, all the things that I said earlier, we're just going through the exact same time as a flat circle impressions, where it's like, yeah, everyone said negative things about Noctis before he came out. Long story short, Noctis was the character that turned Tekken 7 around, where that game sort of like began its upward trend of becoming one of like the biggest fighting games ever. It wasn't Geese that did that. Geese appealed towards a lot of the fighting game audience and was definitely a net positive for the game.
Yeah.
But really getting Tekken into the hands of a bunch of people that are not Tekken fans and allowing it to sell 10 million copies, that was Noctis that did that. It wasn't as much Negan. That was interesting. And I later found out that, Noctis was the best-selling DLC character by a lot.
Ooh, that's nice. He is pretty cool.
Yeah. He pretty much made Tekken 7 one of the reasons why Tekken 7 is the way it became one of the best-selling fighting games ever. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that's the exact same thing for Clive. I think Clive is probably a cooler character than Noctis personally, but I ended up playing a shit ton of Noctis in Tekken 7 because he was like the Soul Calibur character that does the flashiest stuff. And now Clive is, once again, the Soul Calibur character that does the flashiest stuff.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed Noctis a lot in 7, so maybe I might enjoy. Hey, it comes out 72-hour early access next week, right? Like, yeah, like
he comes out in like a day or two. Yeah.
Yeah. In a few days. So that's pretty cool. That was actually kind of crazy that they're like, yeah, this character is literally coming out next week. So that's nice to have instead of just like, hey, look, here's a trailer. We don't know when he comes out, but I'm glad that he comes out.
He's practically shadow dropped. It's crazy. Like he's so like cool. A few days away.
Yeah.
The only difference between both situations, Max, let me know if this sounds accurate to you, is that like I just have this like feeling of when Final Fantasy 15 came out, there is a bit more positivity around the game, or people were really connecting with the boy band sort of thing. And then when Final Fantasy 16 came out, it was more muted. Like there's not that big of a fan base around
you're right.
it versus
you're absolutely right. More of a fan base for Final Fantasy. I'm saying more communication for Final Fantasy 15 in general. Final Fantasy 16, obviously console exclusive. It took a while to come out on PC, so that's actually been an issue that Square's running into now. That like console exclusivity sort of been screwing them over. But no. I played FF15 when it came out. Nobody liked that game, or at least it seemed like nobody liked that game. And then I waited like years after, like 2 years after, for the Royal version to play it, and I ended up really liking it. I was like, oh, this is great. But no, that game was hated, like severely hated. People did not like. I think time has passed a bit now, so the game is sort of getting its flowers. But at that point in the mid 2010s, it was a big bummer to a lot of people that like Noctis is in. Oh my gosh, from the Final Fantasy that sucks, like really. And that's still the impression that most people have of Final Fantasy 15 is that, oh, he's from the game that sucks, because people just didn't play Royal version. And I have to remind people, no. If you want to try this, if you've heard bad things, play the expansion / updated one. It's a 10 times better game. So no. The word of mouth / like I'd say animosity is equivalent. It's just that there was less voices overall for 16 because people just didn't even have a chance to play it because it was on PlayStation 5 only. So I think that's the biggest difference.
Makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, Clive is really cool in Tekken 8. I'm glad that the stage is part of the season 1 pass, so it doesn't cost $5. So they really fixed that. So that's really cool. So I'm excited to see all that type of stuff with Clive.
And there's before we go on, there's an interesting thing about the development of the character because the devs talked about it last night.
Yeah.
Clive was decided to be in the game and development started in 2022.
Oh,
Before
So
the
this
game
is how
was
long
even
it takes
out.
to get a guest character into a game.
yeah.
It takes like
years.
2 to 3 years.
Okay.
So, like, if people are like, "Oh man, we want Tifa in Tekken," I mean, I get it. I was the forebearer. I was like the
Yeah.
nucleus of starting that movement back when Remake came out, when Tekken 7 was out, and that didn't come to a head of all the fans screaming about that until probably earlier this year when Rebirth was coming out for Final Fantasy 7. People were screaming, "Tekken 8's on the horizon. Give us Tifa in Tekken, dude." And then it was like headliner in Japan, front page IGN, like people freaking about Tifa and Tekken. Yeah. But even if Bandai Namco got word of that and it's like, oh, this is a really desired guest character, we're not seeing that until 2026, 2027.
Well, maybe Tekken 9 we will have Tifa. Because do you think we'll have 2 Final Fantasy characters in Tekken 8?
No,
I think
no
it's
way.
so, and related to conversations happening in the future, I think if there's like 3 seasons of Tekken, 3 guest
Yeah.
characters, let's just say that. We know within our hearts, it's almost a guarantee now what one of the guest characters is for Tekken 8. And it's for a fighting game that was just announced. Like one of those
Yes.
spots is now absolutely reserved for a Virtua Fighter character.
Yeah.
And Max, last time you weren't able to make it, we were talking with Gal Winquote about it's like, well, who are you actually going to put in from Virtua Fighter into Tekken? And we were like, not Akira. He just doesn't have the sauce.
He does now.
Akira does.
That
Now
character
he
looks
does.
kind of cool. I'm
Yeah.
wondering about
Yeah.
the whole story, the whole dynamic. He doesn't have his gi. He got this like Wild West traveling. You can't see his
It's
face and
almost like
everything.
the character's been actually updated for the first time since the early fucking 90s.
Yes.
And yeah, like it's weird to see Akira go through a transformation of any kind where it's like outside of customization, where it's like, oh, yeah. Oh, this feels like, and you know what I got out of it? Oh, they're trying to make him like the hero of a martial arts movie. Like this guy looks like he's like the lone gunman down like, like the Bajikwan back streets, and he's just ready to like shoot the shit out of anybody that tries to punch him. It's like, dude, he feels like an Asian cowboy.
Yeah.
I kind of love it.
No,
Yeah, me
it
too.
looks really cool. And I mean, that Virtua Fighter announcement was like, everyone already knew, they were already talking about it on social media, but having like a teaser of just seeing like that Akira, because a lot of people didn't know if that was Akira at first, but you could tell from the shoulder attack, his shoulder bash. That's like his iconic move. But it's like, is that Akira? Is that really Akira? And then you see the girl who's like, oh yeah, that's Sarah. But then they're like, no, her name is Stella. So how do you feel about Stella? Is that the daughter of Sarah Bryant? Is that
I have
Sarah-
theories.
right?
I assume this is Virtua Fighter New Generation, Virtua Fighter, and I am down for that. I never even consider that for Virtua Fighter.
Right.
Like hopefully Lao is dead because Lao is so evil. I hate him. But like,
What about Shundi then?
he-
He's done? If Lao's dead, he's done.
Shundi should
No,
just
no,
be
he would still be alive.
Shundi should be in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Professor X combo.
Okay.
A drunken
Like-
wheelchair. And he's like zipping and flipping.
The next dimension. I
But
get it.
seeing all the old characters like come back and they're like significantly aged, like even more in like some games that we've been seeing lately. Like in Street Fighter 6, it's like, hey, these are older characters, and they're like, yeah, maybe there's like a little bit that they changed to make them look a little bit rougher
Yeah.
and rougher and a little bit aged, but like no one's taken like really big steps because a lot of fighting game creators are just scared to age their characters up too much. They like, especially female
What's
characters.
the?
Yeah.
So-
I guess Chun-Li is probably the one that looks like the most oldest, right? They gave her some
Well,
wrinkles.
Chun-Li is like one of the oldest now female characters in a
Yeah.
fighting game. She's like hovering late 30s, 40s in Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They gave her some
so-
wrinkles and everything.
It's great to
If
actually
there-
see her still look good.
Yeah.
If they're gonna do this with like every female character has like her daughter or her friend show up in Virtua Fighter, like Stella, like I assume it's Sarah's daughter, but we don't know for sure.
So I
Like,
have
it could be anybody.
I have a crackpot theory. You guys ready for crackpot theories?
All right. Go for it.
Always.
Akira said like the legend returns or something like that next to his name. So it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, Akira's been like estranged for a while and he's back is what they're promoting.
Yeah.
Stella was something like a glimpse to the future or something weird like hope for the future, which could somewhat infer to it being a child, but I think it's Dural. I think Doral has
Really?
finally assumed full human form and emulated human form perfectly, and she took the form of Sarah Bryant.
Yo, that is actually
I think that's where they're going to try to push the story in some way.
that's a really big one.
And
You're
it's
saying
it's sentience and is like and Sarah might actually be like somebody different, in the story, or somebody like she's actually older. So I don't know. I think story is probably going to actually, for the first time ever, be a key factor in Virtua Fighter 6. And I think they're trying to give us a tease at that.
wow, that's
I mean,
bold.
It's not the craziest thing you've ever said.
It's pretty crazy.
Not the craziest, but it's definitely we don't have much to go off of.
But Sarah has had some weird importance in certain Virtua Fighters where she's been kidnapped by an organization or brainwashed or some shit like that. Virtua Fighter's always done a terrible job of. It has a story buried somewhere, but you have to seek it out.
Yeah.
So I could still see that. That is an interesting idea, but I'm still going with new generation.
Yeah. And it's just like, is Jackie going to be with a beard, or is it going to be young Jackie? I think we're going to get all the character archetypes effectively, but Akira didn't look that much older. We can promote that maybe he's like in his late 30s and he started off in his early 20s. Yeah, sure. We can approach that. But I think they might keep the majority of the roster intact still and actually have, I don't want younger versions of older characters. I kind of want new characters that are actually like new blood and doing completely different things.
Yeah, I think that'll be pretty cool, right? But the Virtua Fighter Direct, right after the Game Awards, they had Direct, and they were talking about more information about Virtua Fighter 6, and they wanted to be they were very confident of what they're saying, right? Like they want this to stand on top of all fighting games. Do you think, when playing Virtua Fighter, it has like that you need to play a lot, you need to main the game? Are they going to try to modernize this, like how every other fighting game has been modernized? Like, are they going to have supers? Are they going to have different type of mechanics that has like comeback factor?
It's weird because Virtua Fighter has the least amount of buttons for a 3D fighting game. I don't know how you can simplify it. They just take those 3 buttons and they do the maximum amount with them. I don't know. It's too early to say really if they can even really modernize it. I think they're largely keep it the same because the Like a Dragon team has been, did Ultimate Showdown and they're doing Revo. So I'm going to say that they're going to keep things pretty similar. I'm not even sure about Super Attack.
I think the one thing that's going to stay the same is the VF triangle, which, kind of started in Virtua Fighter 4 and Virtua Fighter 5, like the strike, grab, throw, like triangle. Yeah. Because that is the key, that is the heart of VF. And even after playing it, again, after like a year of not playing much VF at all, I got back and played matches and I was like, I'm playing low ranked matches in VF and I am making decisions 3 times the speed of Tekken 8, where I'm in getting closer to Tekken God. Yeah. 3 times the speed. It's friggin' crazy. So that's the thing that Virtua Fighter has always been complimented by, where it's like, it's an extremely fast game with extremely fast decision making because you're always making a choice of like, can I sidestep the strike, or did I get thrown out of the sidestep, or do I block here? I blocked, I got thrown for it. And it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like constantly. I'm like, Jesus, dude. So people will try to play it like Tekken, but it's not that. I think that part of the game stays the same, where the strike throw, sidestep guard, aspect of VF,
the down punch.
Yes, now you 2P to interrupt people out of it, and I got to the point where I was parrying 2Ps with Akira and just get the shit out of your bitch, and it's like, oh, this feels so good. Yeah, it does. That has to stay. I think that's like Killer Instinct losing like counter breakers and the combo breaking system that it has in KI 2013. No, that's now a foundational element, and you can switch things around. I don't think we're inherently going to get meters, but from the little bit of footage we saw, I think we're going to get a much more cinematic game. I think we're going to get a thing that really highlights like counter hits and takes advantage of big moments. Where if you like duck a high or something like that, some sick shit should be happening.
Maybe a slowdown or
slowdown or two. Things there needs to be. Again, I like it that the devs talked about this. Virtua Fighter has always been rooted in realism, and I know LOL moon jumps. I get it, and Kage exists. I get it. But the series is known for having realistic martial arts colliding with each other. Like, what the hell does Baji-Kwan look like versus judo? You know, I want to see what that's like. And guess what? Tekken, ever since Tekken 5, has been further and further straying from that idea and becoming way more in hella anime. Yeah. Tekken 8 included. So there's a space for that. There's a space where people are going to kind of want a raw martial arts realistic fighting game.
It doesn't matter anything about Baji-Kwan or karate or judo, because as Wolf says, wrestling is the greatest sport of all time.
Exactly. And then Luchador Man comes in. My wrestling even better. Es muy bueno.
It should just turn it into a wrestling game.
Yeah.
I mean, you have 3 characters so far with it.
Yeah. I think that's the entire point of the game existing, is like, we're going to make the ultimate true martial arts fighting game. Because that is literally what Virtua Fighter OG was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I have a little thing just based on the trailer. I have a feeling, and in the little gameplay snippet, that stages will kind of play a bigger role.
Like a DOA or Tekken 4?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, just judging from the stage in that snippet, like, first of all, I don't know about you guys, but when they showed the choice to show a screen being played with the game got me way more excited. There was something about it where I was like feeling like, you know, E3 2016 off-screen footage. Cam. And the handy cam or you know, whatever, that tracking shot, that just made me go, oh, what is that? Oh, what's going on back there? Like, I can barely see it, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sure part of that is what leads the game to looking desaturated. But I've seen a couple impressions of people saying, I really like that, at least from this footage, it looks desaturated and grittier. Like, there's something about that feels a little fresh compared to, like, you know, Tekken has a grit to it, but it's also very colorful, all these explosions and stuff. And that leads into, like Max saying, like, the ultimate martial arts, like, you know, experience. And even in the trailer, Akira blasts a dude through like a wooden door.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would love that to be like the flourish that Virtua Fighter just adds. Stage transitions, getting knocked into a place that's still somewhat realistic, but it's not too over the top.
I got another theory based on what we're seeing. There was something that really hit me during that gameplay snippet, that 5-second gameplay snippet, right? And it's that there's not a completely balanced camera during it. It's very weird. It hovers to like left and right, and it actually highlights some characters, not like completely over the shoulder, but it's not like a default cam.
Yeah.
I think that's footage of a single player mode.
Oh yeah, possibly.
I could see that.
I think like Kira blasting a dude through a door. I think like these elements are showing that our characters in an environment, like engaging with other characters in an environment a la Street Fighter 6, right? Where you like world tour and fight a bitch in the middle of nowhere, but it, you know, siphons it down. What if you actually had a game that the environment was important? And there's another game like that exists where you're like running down streets and engaging in combat with enemies, and you know the environment is important, and it's called friggin' Yakuza. So you
that makes
know,
sense.
and considering the developer behind this is already the one that's doing that, it'd be almost impossible to think that, oh yeah, a single player mode in a Virtua Fighter game made by Ryuga Gotoku Studios, you know, Ryuga Gotoku Studios is not going to have like a Yakuza or single player mode where a character's walking down streets and beating the shit out of each other. Like, that's going to happen. Like, that's going to be in the game in some way.
They have all these assets from all these Yakuza games. Like
Hawaii. The absolute king lord gods
Japan,
of asset reusage and making it new and interesting. Like, we're going to get the ultra fucking Shenmue game out of this, dude.
You know, speaking...
Which is... I was just going to say full circle moments since Shenmue started as Virtua Fighter RPG and you played as Akira. Like, that's crazy to me.
Speaking of Ryuga Gotoku working on Virtua Fighter 6, what do you think of them having a guest character like Kiryu or Ichiban in the game?
If it was going to happen, now is it's like that shit ain't going to Tekken anymore, bro.
And that's what I'm saying, because people wanted Kiryu in Tekken, but now you're like, Virtua Fighter might be the one getting Kiryu in Virtua Fighter.
Makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot
I
of
would
sense.
I would love Axel from Streets of Rage. Just if Sega's gonna put in a few Sega characters, like
Ooh.
I'd say Kiryu and like Axel and like maybe one more.
Matt,
Maybe
imagine this
Sonic.
situation where you follow a Virtua Fighter 6 or whatever side quest with whatever character you have, and you're going through it and you find it, and there's this hidden seedy gang doing all this hidden seedy gang shit, and you go down a dark alley and you fight all these guys, and you get there, and it's this dude on this garbage throne, and it's Bon from Fighting Vipers. And he's like, Himayogra! Like that. That's where this game could shine, dude. You can put like Last Bronx characters and shit in the story mode.
Because like again, World Tour and Street Fighter 6, like they threw like lots
They
of
do
Final
that.
Fight characters.
They did, yeah.
And
Final
so
Fight
and so
characters
they
are
could-
everywhere, dude.
They could throw in Last Bronx characters, so they could throw in Eternal Champions. If they were not cowards, they'd throw an Eternal Champion in there.
They can have a side quest where a guy had a dream about becoming a race car,
Oh,
you know, and he's like, I couldn't help it,
Yeah.
and so I made this costume, and it's like he's in a Daytona car with arms,
Daytona
and you have to
car.
fight
and,
him.
and he's fighting with
So it's a
outfit.
Fighters Megamix reference. It's like, this
Okay.
would be amazing, dude.
And the guy in the costume looks like you.
Whatever.
So obviously there's a lot of VF6 and we're all excited for it. Want more news, want more gameplay. The one thing that they did was having this beta, Virtua Fighter Revo beta, and I thought that was really cool just because it's an update for Final Showdown, right? Pretty much brand new changes. There's a rollback added for the Steam version. I think you could get the update for PlayStation 5 as well too. And I think it's really cool. Like, right?
We did miss this last time we talked about it, but it's like the gameplay changes are being rolled back into Ultimate Showdown on PS4, PS5.
Correct.
But that game is still staying as
Final-
Ultimate
yeah,
There's a
Showdown.
reason it's not
right?
crossplay, because it's a PS4 game, and the PS4 version of
Yeah.
Ultimate Showdown, they couldn't do rollback. Need bigger
Which is-
CPU.
I'll believe that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Steam version is called Revo, and then it pretty much has all the changes, but it's not crossplay. But I mean, if you're playing it this weekend, it's free, right? You can play rollback.
Yeah, it's free for like
matches.
5 days.
5 days
Since its launch.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I played a bit of it,
Okay.
and I didn't have any connections issues at all. So the rollback seem it's working as intended.
I definitely had big problems.
Did you? You had big problems.
I had
Okay.
big problems. Some matches I played last night were mostly okay,
Yeah.
but my first night was full of a bunch of issues, and there's been 2 patches since then.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So it looks like they're already aware. There's been matchmaking fixes. I think there's been a netcode fix already. Everybody that I was playing against, and I was sort of like echoing this, where it's like, holy shit, everybody I was playing against was 50 to 45 FPS on their end, and my game was running at 60. So I was in a perpetual 30 frames of rollback at almost any point because
Damn.
our games could not sync. So I went through like 7 or 8 matches straight of that, where it's like
Wow,
people are trying to
really?
run this on a potato at 4K and it's not working.
I must have a lot of good luck because I had no issues at all on my end.
Yeah. And I played some matches that were mostly pretty good, where it's like, yeah, this is decent. It's not amazing yet, but that's the whole point of a beta, right?
Yeah.
Is that, and the whole point of Virtua Fighter 5 Revo, just in general, which is to get ready for the next VF. So, I mean, they're making an entire release of a game, and the whole point of this game's existence, and even the future of VF, sort of boils down to that shit we were talking about years ago, which is, I think if you're going to innovate on Virtua Fighter in some way outside of the gameplay, you need to make it a game for the world.
Yeah.
You can't just be a game for Japan anymore, where it's like, oh, Japan plays the game online fine with each other, but people that are playing in Africa, well, fuck them. People that are playing over here, well, fuck them. If you're close to a server, you're good, but that's it. That sucks. That's not a game that's accessible in any way.
They made a huge deal about that because they talked about how they're having their Virtual Fighter like online open world championships
for the world, not just for Japan.
World championships where people have qualifiers, and if they win their online qualifiers, and I guess maybe they're flown somewhere to play against the other region champions, because they're not gonna do like Japan versus America, right, in Virtua Fighter. So
I was watching a lot of VF heads playing the game, and I was watching VF Numbers play the game. It's like an amazing life, right? Just I follow all the VF heads that stream VF on Twitch between Tricky and Numbers and everybody else. And when they were playing it, they were getting matches from like New Jersey, like East Coast, like Upper East Coast to Hawaii.
Oh
and
wow.
it was like 2 to 3 frames. I think it was 2 frames delay, 4 or 5 frames of rollback.
Yeah.
And so it's very functional. If they you can actually customize the delay frames you want by whatever individual amount, similar to Tekken. So you can add like 3, 4, 5 frames of input delay if you want.
Yeah.
Which doesn't feel particularly great, but still the customization is there. So it's running good. What I think it needs 100%, what Tekken also needs, is a benchmark. You need to benchmark people's hardware mega hard before they play online.
The old school way.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit that people can jump onto Tekken with a potato and then, make the online experience balls in the same way that you can with VF.
Yeah.
Can you think of any fighting game in the last 10 years that had like a benchmark?
Street Fighter 4.
All of them do, except Tekken 8. All of them do.
I was searching for KI 2013 specifically, but that's okay. Don't worry.
Yeah. KI was one of the OGs. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Street Fighter does. Street Fighter 5 did as well. Like, it's a thing, and it's like, well, you have to do this. Like, we have to make sure your hardware, because there's a problem with rollback netcode, and it's the rift, the space of time in between players, and how you manage that. And if the frame timing is off, it's going to be a big fucking problem, dude.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. They have 5 days to get more data, and the game comes out, I believe, mid-January officially. I think it was like
later January.
Under $20, I believe, from what I remember.
Yeah, it's on sale right now for like 16.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I think there's 2 versions of it. There's like one that comes with like an anniversary stuff.
Yeah, you get like swimsuits,
skin or something.
Swimsuits. That's right. Every character have every swimsuit.
I pre-ordered that.
Man, you're trying to make a DOA already.
Consoles, they hang out around your shoulder.
Yeah. It's on sale. Both versions are on sale with like 20% off right now.
Okay, and then for the people that love physical versions, that's pretty cool that they teamed up with limited run gains to pretty much get this like crazy. Like everything, right?
It's VF2 and VF5 physical re-releases.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You get so much like the classic box. You get all the art cards, the retro style long box from just like the Sega Saturn style.
The Sega Saturn box, that's such a nice touch. It
is a good touch. So it seems like Sega is like completely, really going all in on Virtua Fighter.
Well, just to show like the significance of this, they did begin that Virtua Fighter Direct with the COO of the whole fucking company speaking in English about how important Virtua Fighter is and how it's a staple and has defined Sega in general for like the past like 30 plus years, and how important Virtua Fighter is and how pioneering it is. It's like, damn. All right, so this is a commitment, okay?
There's that, and they had all those guest speakers. They had like this pretty much the owner of NVIDIA just talking about how they worked on Virtua Fighter when NVIDIA was getting their first start and everything. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that, but that's really cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I think like them having NVIDIA backing up, them having the prince from Saudi Arabia, it looks like they might have Virtua Fighter EWC possibly next year. Based off that, they had Markman talk about Evo because they're having the Beat Tribe 5-on-5 at Evo Japan. So when it comes to like competition, I feel like Virtua Fighter and like Sega, they're really pushing that compared to like, I guess like Bandai Namco or like Street Fighter. Like they're really emphasizing how the competitive tournament competition, they really want it like on the map. They really want it to be the forefront. So it's a really big step.
When this game launches, if everything goes relatively smoothly and there's single player content and it has a kind of a bold new direction in visuals and combat and is like a unique take on VF, but is similar in ways, which is what it should be. This is about to be the biggest fucking game in Japan ever. This is about to be like Monster Hunter on PSP levels of holy goddamn. Like everybody's playing this shit. It'll be very big because Ultimate Showdown exploded in Japan and that game was old as dirt. So, all I'm saying is that if a new VF comes back, like everybody's 40-year-old dads and 50-year-old dads are going to be teaching their kids how to play VF, dude.
The only way I could see it not being successful if they like, because, I was thinking about like, okay, like if they modernize Virtua Fighter to where it's like a Guilty Gear Strive or like a Tekken 8 or
Sure.
a Street Fighter 6.
Really change the heart of it, yeah.
It might turn off like the old heads because like that's what it seemed like for Guilty Gear for me, where like all the OGs of Guilty Gear that played like Slash or Accent Core or Rev 2, they did not transition to Strive like at all.
It was a different game. They
Completely
sacrificed
different game.
a core part of their audience to create a much bigger audience, and it worked.
Yeah. So
But the thing is, I don't think Virtua Fighter fans want VF5 again, personally speaking.
yeah.
No, I don't. I don't.
Even if we casually like Virtua Fighter 5, we don't want that either. I think Sega knows that. And it seems that they talked about innovation and like pioneering innovation, where it's like, if we can't make the absolute best 3D fighting game you've ever seen, we shouldn't be making this shit.
Yeah.
So, and that has been their mentality since Virtua Fighter 5. I remember hearing that quote back in the early 2010s, where it's like, we will not make another Virtua Fighter game until we truly innovate on this genre. So
like there's 4 versions of Virtua Fighter 5 that I can think of.
Yes.
Maybe there's one more I'm missing.
no, you're right.
There's like the first one, Final Showdown, Ultimate Showdown, and Revo.
So it's technically
Evo,
VF5
whatever.
Vanilla, VF5R, VF5 Final Showdown, VF5
Yes,
Ultimate
okay.
Showdown, VF5 Revo.
Okay.
And also
So it's 5.
and also the release of Virtua Fighter 5 and the Yakuza game.
Well,
Does that count?
They released the game.
yeah.
I'm just saying
That's
it's not
true.
an
Okay.
unique version, but it's like, how many times have they released this shit?
Re-released it.
Many
Okay,
times,
okay,
dude.
yeah, yeah.
It's like the
Okay.
6th
Yeah.
time.
Well, hopefully we get more Virtua Fighter news in the near future. I'm assuming maybe this is like 2026 or late 2025 possible release. Who knows?
Yeah,
Since
it could come out
2026.
next year, but I think it'll be probably early 2026.
Yeah, that's what I think. Let's talk about one of your favorite characters, Max, Conan. Mortal Kombat 1. They showed a little bit of a gameplay teaser, and a lot of people had some words about the Conan gameplay.
Thoughts were shared.
Well, I mean, MK1's not in a great spot right now after the not rumor of it effectively being maybe done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, people are effectively disappointed, and we were saying the same thing where it's like, yeah, I'm thinking the guest characters in these seasons aren't really hitting in the ways that they maybe will entirely hit. Conan's definitely out there where I'm looking forward to him the most, but visually he looks like he's a little undercooked.
The movement kind of stiff a little bit.
Yeah. A lot of comparisons to Tusk because Tusk was just Conan,
Yeah.
especially KI2 Tusk, just like 1 for 1. But yeah, respectively speaking, he's doing the exact same moves as Tusk, which were
Like the
obviously
exact
inspired
same.
by
It was
Conan.
crazy.
Yeah.
So, it makes a lot of sense why there's comparisons.
This Schwarzenegger impression guy it's rough.
It is, right?
Like it's because it's really close, but it's so not close that it just takes me out of it. Like the same thing for Mortal Kombat 11 Terminator. Like it,
Yeah, it's the
Still
second
don't-
time they have a not Arnie.
it's Warner Brothers.
Small indie studio.
Yeah. Man,
Anyway.
it is a bit tough. Just like watching the trailer again, I'm just like, man, even the He-Man guy from Knockoff looks a lot better than the Conan from Mortal Kombat 1. So I don't know. I mean, maybe his gameplay when you're pressing the buttons might be more exciting. We'll see. But just from the trailer alone, I'm just like, oh, that's not it for me. Like the other characters, like their gameplay teasers and trailers, they look so much cooler. But just like Conan, just like super undercooked. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they'll give a better trailer.
We need
in the
his
future.
actual gameplay trailer instead of just a teaser snippet.
Yeah.
They showed kind of a dry combo in his
Yeah.
teaser snippet as well.
Try combo.
It is
So,
pretty dry.
I'm worried about his fatalities and brutalities because it's like I'm gonna cut you with my sword. Like there's been a thing lately with Mortal Kombat 1 fatalities. It's like, hey, if you don't like this about this particular Mortal Kombat movie, game, sorry, I should say, don't worry, the finishers, don't worry. And overall, I still think there's like this weird muted sort of feeling with some of these fatalities where you're expecting one more thing to happen.
Yeah.
Like they kind of telegraph it where you're like, oh, and then he's going to do this, right? And then he doesn't. They just stand there and they do their pose and you're like, oh. And I just I see that happening with this. Like, and when I'm thinking about Conan the Barbarian, he doesn't have a whole lot of outside elements. He has a sword. He's a good barbarian.
He's going to turn into a camel and spit on you.
Wow.
And then his opponent punches the camel.
Yes. And he spits harder.
Like, unless he's bringing in other characters, like they get James Earl Jones.
Doesn't he have other weapons? Like, doesn't he have like that? Doesn't he throw stuff like nothing or just a sword? That's it.
I've never seen a full Conan movie. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like he would throw like one of those Xena, the warrior princess, whatever. He don't got one of those things that he throws.
Like if this was cartoon Conan,
Yeah.
Conan the Adventurer, he had tons of shit. He had a pet phoenix that was like, it was annoying.
I'm saying.
He had a pet phoenix. But this is just movie Conan.
You know, so we might have to go to the cartoon
route. He just uses a sword. Yeah, I love the cartoon. I fucking love that cartoon. Anyway, yeah, it's just I looked at this trailer and I was just like, man. And after this, it's like the T-1000. Get ready.
Yeah, having Robert Patrick come back, he'll definitely be in there.
They got at least they got more moves.
His role.
Yeah, at least they could be more creative with the T-1000 though.
Yeah,
I'll admit that. Yeah. He can even clone himself. He could be a Shang Tsung.
Oh, okay.
Why not?
Yeah, right. That'll be cool. Well, I mean, we're gonna wait for more Mortal Kombat 1 news. Hopefully, the official Conan trailer will give us better like impressions of the character, right? Dazzle us with the fatality and the camel animality from Maximilian. But you know, surprisingly, there was so much King of Fighters 15 news. Obviously, we knew about the Vice and Mature gameplay, but I didn't know a whole patch was also going to be involved as well. So pretty much it means like another year of King of Fighters 15 at the competitive space. But Vice and Mature, I thought Mature looked great. I loved how Mature looks. The gameplay looks really cool. And Vice also, like her movesets and the way she flows looks really cool as well too. You guys, what are your thoughts about the two?
They definitely up their graphical presentation on the characters in 15 a little bit, since it's been like what, a year maybe since there was the last character.
Yeah, it's been a while.
The sumo girl, I forget her name.
Hinata.
Hinata. It's subtle, but it's there. Like I just feel like camera work or textures or something is just a little bit better. And yeah, I thought they both looked great. It's weird to possibly end the game with these two characters. I think end with one more boss. Throw one like more legacy boss in there. In there, maybe that would be.
Go Nuts. Like, did he make it already?
Yeah, no, he's there. Go Nuts and Rugal are the two bosses. So I mean, they have a lot of cool. They could do Orochi. They could do Chrysalid.
Browser.
You know, we'll see.
Yeah, it's people were telling me, and I was checking out the trailer that there's like an ultimate version of the game, like the final version of the game is also being released, which is sort of cementing the fact that this is it. So apparently, like, there a lot of the KOF heads are effectively accepting the fact that 15 is done, and they're just moving straight into Galro.
City Wolves.
Maybe like DLC between the two. Maybe it's like, I don't know, you get a Garo version of a character showing up or something like that. I mean,
they have 3 Garo characters in the game already.
Yeah, true.
So I think
they're about to have another one when Geese gets announced.
When who gets announced?
When Geese gets announced for City of the Wolves.
Nightmare Geese?
I don't think it'll just be Geese, bro.
Just
he got saved by a bird or some shit.
No, he's dead. He's dead.
I'm sure he is.
That's the thing. I want to disagree with you, but it's like, no, there's still a percentage where I'm like, he's right. He could be right.
I think Geese will make it into to City of the Wolves before launch or soon after.
If he does, it can't be a live Geese. It has to be Nightmare. Yeah, like not
zombie geese. Zombie Geese.
Yeah,
it can't be real Geese.
Okay, but you know what's crazy is like for me SNK had like all this news of like King of Fighters 15. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen a new City of the Wolves update.
I was expecting something, a very quick trailer, because they don't want to spend $500,000 to give to Jeff Keighley for like just one 30-second trailer. But I thought there would be a quick character reveal, but No, like we're not too far from launch. It's in April, so like
Coming soon. Yeah,
probably something at the top of the year.
yeah. I thought
sure.
maybe a Jae-hoon trailer because the last character they announced was Dong Hwan. I thought maybe one of those or maybe some more of Ken Chung-Li gameplay
Modes.
or modes.
I thought we'd see more mode stuff by now.
And you see Ronaldo combos.
Oh yeah,
what the fuck?
that's
Ronaldo?
right. I forgot about Ronaldo. You would think Ronaldo would, if he was a character, he would come out for the Game Awards, right?
Yeah, you think they would have spent the money on that, but I don't know. Like wherever it's going to be, however it's going to be, they're going to save that for something. I'm assuming it's a PlayStation event. I'm assuming they're waiting for a PlayStation something like that, like a direct or a showcase that might be early 2025, because we don't have that long until the game comes out. To effectively have like final characters, stuff like that.
You know what? I'm just gonna wait for the Nintendo Direct because that's all I know. That Nintendo Direct comes out with all the fighting game news now.
All the Capcom collections, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe they do like a Garo Direct or like just an SNK Direct and just like summarize everything that's going on with KOF, and then have like a big section for City of the Wolves. Like that's still. Even though SNK much smaller than like when Nintendo or Sony does one, I still think like you get a pretty decent viewership to watch that if there's going to be like new characters and shit. So
yeah, we'll see. I mean, looking forward to it. Hopefully, we'll see a lot more King of Fighters 15 gameplay from a lot of like tournament players because this might be the last year for it competitively. But speaking of SNK-ish, we got the My teaser for Street Fighter 6. How do we feel about the My teaser?
Like Conan, I think there's some things I know that's a weird way to start off. Like Conan, I think there's some things to be said because the first 10-15 seconds of the trailer, I'm like, cool. And then I would agree with some shots where I'm like, why does this look old? Why does she look like she's from a 360 game? Like she looks like she's from Maximum Impact. And didn't we feel this way about Terry's teaser trailer when you see him for a second?
Yeah,
like
Terry's weird face in the teaser also had this problem where it's like what I think it is, and Terry ended up looking really good in game cinematics like supers and stuff. He looked fine. This is the World Tour introduction cinematic.
Yeah.
And even that 100%. With Terry, with him bouncing around Popo Cafe, like smacking a bitch up, was like, oh, this looks good, but it looks, obviously not like ideal. Doesn't look the best. We haven't seen Mai in gameplay doing crazy gameplay things. My only criticism was that like, she looks like a different person.
Yeah,
she's effectively now becoming the Jill Valentine of fighting games, where it's just like, oh, this is just a different person in every game. Like from their face, they're just like a completely different individual.
Yeah.
And I think the best that Mai has effectively looked was DOA 5 and not 6. She's a different face in DOA 6 for some reason, and obviously in the latest City of the Wolves, she looks amazing in City of the Wolves. But this is a different Mai. Like this is early Shinkiro art Mai, I swear, where it's like, oh, that she feels like she's like she's very young here in comparison to maybe some other iterations that we've seen in previous fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just assume such a massive difference in art style, Street Fighter 6 and City of the Wolves, where it's like, I think Mai looks amazing. Like even if you take the updated costume out, it looks and feels like Mai. And when I saw this again, this big whiff of Maximum Impact, where the 3D modeling on those characters looked off for almost every single one, except for like maybe K-Dash, but most of his face is obscured by like, sunglasses or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I just was like looking at this going like, she just looks off. And, Chun-Li, I think looked amazing from day one. Cammy looked amazing from day one. And it also went through a huge shift in art style for them. So I don't know why it's bothering me so much here. With that said, I still think like the trailer and her potentially having her own stage, I'd like to think she will because Terry did.
I think she will. I think that's a stage that we're going to be getting.
And that's the stage I want. Her on the river stage. Like you go back to Fatal Fury 2 or Fatal Fury Special, look at that stage. That stage is a masterclass and like like parallax scrolling and pixel art. Like it looks so cool. Like it's almost ahead of its time with how like mystical it looks and feels like, special. So the fact that they picked that one is the right one. What are we betting on the alternate costume when her full trailer drops?
Oh, I think it'll be
City of the Wolves, right?
City of the Wolves.
It'll be City of the Wolves 100%.
Or
and another one.
Or a Chun-Li outfit. CVS2 cameo.
That'd be cute.
That'd be super cute if they both like got like a little DLC.
That's what I'm saying.
costume.
That's the perfect wave. Like Chun-Li gets the Mai outfit, and then Mai gets the Chun-Li outfit, so it's like a CVS2 cameo.
Capcom could price those two costumes
$10
at. That's
$10.
where you put the Ninja Turtle price tag on.
Yeah, $10 right
you
there.
price that $10 for that costume. $15. Guys, like Andy or someone at Capcom's like, oh yeah, we gotta put it that.
Oh, the baby's coming, right?
The baby.
But when you're talking about how Mai looks a little bit weird, I'm wondering, is it because like they don't know how to age Mai, because you have to kind of make it related to like Chun-Li's age?
Yeah, but they didn't age Terry.
That's what I mean.
It's just
Terry's
Terry.
like youngest Terry.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
talking. These characters almost look like visually they're
Prime
coming out of
Terry.
early Fatal Fury, like
Yeah.
way old. And Mai's the same way. Where if you compare Mai and the way her costume looks, it doesn't look like the way Mai's costume happens later on, where she has like the ropes on her shoulders and
Yeah.
she goes
Yeah.
full Kunimitsu,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, like full Kuni, like that type of stuff. She looks like the first iterations. So that's what they're going for, like the youngest version of Shinkiro art characters. And I showed my chat a couple of examples of like, she just has her hands on her hip, like chilling. I'm like, looks like that. Looks like they're trying to go for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and she doesn't have the little like. I think in the video it shows like she's not wearing the little socks.
She also doesn't
or
have brown
something.
hair, which is a thing that happens later to the character. And in very early versions of Mai from artwork, she has like almost like jet black hair. She doesn't have her
Yeah.
traditional brown hair that she has like in later versions. Once again, early Mai is what we're looking at.
Yeah. Early Shinkiro pictures of her. Yeah, it's like jet black almost, pretty much. And if you go to anime Mai, it's red. Like they're like, fuck it.
Yep.
It's red, and her costume's not even red.
It's pink.
Her costume's pink.
Yeah.
Believe me, I looked at every frame of Mai in those animes back in the day.
Oh man.
Pause, slowed down. I had to.
You gotta make sure that they were doing their job right.
I had to make sure all the in between frames were there, So, but yeah, like I once I saw it, I was kind of like, hey, the first Terry trailer didn't blow me away. Like I was like, yeah, excited, and I was like, it looks a little weird. Okay, that's fine. So I'm confident that when she actually comes out, and the amount of stuff you can do with her gameplay, really. Where she can like jump off the wall, like just
Giving her crazy flash kick back from some game in the 90s,
Good. Yeah, I think it was like a real bout or like one or two KOFs where they put that in.
I know she had that in '97, her DP or whatever.
And that like fire tornado that spins around her sometimes she gets.
She's gonna be kidded.
I forgot what game that was from, but I remember. I think it was more of a newer KOF with the fire tornado.
Yeah.
No, CVS2. She had that move.
Oh yeah. Where she like spin. Yeah.
Where she like puts her whole self in fire. It's like completely worthless move.
And it's like a pillar attack.
Yeah. It's a worthless move, but she had that. Do you think that it's gonna be her gameplay? It's gonna be similar to Terry.
100%. She's gonna be a mixture of every Mai ever.
Okay.
She's gonna have like a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
But which like Terry has those unique mechanics, like the lane switching thing, and then what's the other thing? His power geyser being able to like change the amount of geysers and stuff. She's got to have something small like that.
I think she's gonna get those unique things that aren't that are other unique things that make more sense to Mai directly. I don't think it's gonna be like a 1-to-1 copy of Terry. I think they'll try to make her feel like more reference to the amount of games that she's been in, because Terry's technically been in more games.
That's the hardest part, because Terry has more different supers. My super is her little dash Phoenix arrow
elbow
attack. Yeah, that's like her signature. And then in CVS she throws the fan super. But those were like her only two supers for like the longest time.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, it might be pretty hard to to find what's another super to give her. They might have to make a brand new super.
I have a bet. She's gonna do a maximum Wesker in some way. She's gonna do something where she runs up a wall and goes.
That'll probably be her level 3. Like they'll probably take Kimberly's level 3 and then make it my style, right?
Yeah, something like that.
She is a Kunoichi, so it'll make sense.
That's her primary job. I thought, as a mechanic, if they want to be kind of smart / sneaky with it, it's like SNK would go, well, how about you call that mechanic that you're working on this? Then the mechanic would be every time Mai does Rienbu, which is like the little fire slash that she does, it like heats up and it gets bigger, the fire, whatever. And they're like, oh, what should we call it? So we call it revving up.
Damn, she's Cinder.
Yeah, she's Cinder. And they're like, yeah, sure. Can we give her a rev gauge? And like Capcom be like, you can't. That's too flagrant in that we're advertising your upcoming game.
They could have made Terry just defend if they
didn't do it for Terry, they're not going to do it for Mai. Where like the characters are almost intentionally not City of the Wolves, like outside of a costume. So I think gameplay wise, it's going to be separated. It's going to be older versions of Mai from like KOF Fatal Fury games that'll be referenced and not as much her brand new iteration, because Terry was not that. Terry, they were like, no, we're not doing that. It's like, what the hell? Okay, that's weird.
All right. Well, let me ask you guys, the expert staff here, expert panel, release date.
Oh, for Mai?
Thoughts on release date?
March
after Capcom Cup? Capcom Cup is in March.
Yeah, I'm gonna say she might be like late January, early February.
Yeah, really that early.
Because March is pretty much like spring,
Well, so we have to think about it. Like, so what does the route go? We have to get the full gameplay trailer. And then once the full gameplay trailer happens, the character will usually drop like 2 to 3 weeks after that. So I could see a situation where as soon as all the Capcom heads are back from like holiday, that we get a gameplay trailer for her and it sort of kicks off 2025 early. And, that might land us around like an early Feb.
Yeah, that makes sense because like if they're going to release Mai around January, February, they have to make sure it's like right before Capcom Cup where it's technically allowed to play in tournament. Right?
Bro, they don't give a fuck. You know this.
Yeah, exactly.
It's $1 million tournament.
All FGC keeps trying to do this where it's like, yeah, they won't drop an update before some big giant tournament or something like that. Even their big event.
Big update.
Yeah,
they literally do this.
Shout outs to Jabali for being tortured the most.
It happened. I think it also happened with the previous like Capcom Cup where there was something that happened to the characters not that long before when there was a big event and it was like, oh yeah, a big change happened. So I don't know if it was Street Fighter 6, but there was like Street Fighter 5 or something.
I don't remember.
Or close to Evo. Oh, no, it was Evo. It was Evo.
It was Evo, yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, they'll never drop a character before Evo, and they drop a character before Evo.
It was, what character was it? It was like 2 weeks before.
It was something in season 1.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that for Evo. But I think for Capcom Cup, I don't know, they might want to like keep the integrity of $1 million prize pool. Like, this is $1 million prize pool, right? So we have to make it as safe as possible.
Okay, at the very least, it has to be before the end of March because that's when each company's financial like results
and there you go
previous year.
Okay,
and there's the thing that's significantly
the thing that's like 100 times bigger than a $1 million prize pool for some FGC fans is that we need to make our fucking net worth more before a certain period of time.
Like you see all these Capcom financial documents leak, and there's like this pie chart, and it's like 45% my DLC.
Yeah, sure.
Like the rest, every other game.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I mean, okay. Hopefully, we'll get something soon for Mai, and then Elena. Elena's probably after. Is Elena gameplay or teaser probably at Capcom Cup? Maybe, or the next season.
Yeah, I think that could be a Capcom Cup thing, because by the time Mai will be like old news. She'll be like a month and a half old.
Yeah,
everyone
right.
will forget she's in the game. She's probably not going to make like headliners and top tier, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Big ups to that artist that draws Elena every day. until she's added to Street Fighter 6. It's this great artist on Twitter. I'm really sorry, I'm forgetting their name right now. But they draw like Elena doing something funny, cute, hanging out with Akuma, dressing as other characters.
I know what you're talking about.
And they're so anticipating a release. Like it's been one drawing every day since like her announcement. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so happy for them.
Did they say Elena was spring or summer?
Spring.
No, winter. Who was winter?
Maya's winter.
Maya's winter, yeah.
Elena's spring. Right? Yeah, so Elena's going to be like April, May-ish.
Yeah, it's before the June, the update, right? That's what people are just saying,
so
the update.
Elena 100% is going to be at Capcom Cup and shown in some way.
Right.
And I wouldn't even be surprised if at Capcom Cup or maybe sometime after that they take, we're going to see season 3. Like season 3 is going to be shown relatively soon.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens in the near future. I mean, more fighting game news and more releases. Speaking of that, we had a character that was announced last night for Hunter x Hunter Nen Impact Morel. And it's kind of random because the way they're revealing these characters is very like DNF Duel-ish, where they just like, you know what, here you go. Just throw it out there, right?
Damn.
It is not a giant. It does not appear to be a game with a giant marketing budget.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. But it looks cool. I don't know if you guys watched the anime of Hunter x Hunter, but a lot of people are pretty excited for this guy and his movement and everything. Just like looking at the trailer, I feel like it looks a lot better from the gameplay compared to where I used to play. Yeah, so it looks like they put a lot more effort and work into this.
Well, wasn't it the thing where it's supposed to come out like by the end of this year, but then they said, "Oh no, we're delaying it because we want to make it better."
No, you're right about that. It was because they were going to release this game without rollback.
Yes,
that was going to happen. That was going to happen.
Yeah, so because of that, they were just like, we're going to delay it so we could add rollback and make sure this game sells well and everything. But I think, the fan service of Hunter is going to be pretty big, like for a lot of people that casually will just buy the game.
Sure.
But yeah, I hope the game does better. I hope the game does a little bit better than DNF Duel. I don't know. It just seems pretty hard based off their marketing and the way they're approaching it.
I don't know if that's going to happen. I think DNF Duel at least had like a really big market share in some parts of the world. And clearly did not like explode in general. And Hunter x Hunter obviously has a bit more of an appeal just because it's based on a popular show that's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it'll be a game that will be fun and cool and will be hilariously wacky and unbalanced in the exact same ways that DNF Duel is. All I have to say is that we got our aiding game that was kind of nuts and everybody complained about it.
Yeah, that's true.
And now we're about to get another aiding game that's kind of nuts and everyone's going to complain about it. That like you can't release a Marvel vs. Capcom feeling game, Marvel 3 feeling game in this day and age and have people not complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But of all the aiding games, it's like still waiting for that one aiding franchise. Virtua Fighter's coming back. There's one other great fighting franchise that's still.
What do you want? Tatsunoko? You want that one?
Yes, Tatsunoko.
That's it.
That well-known franchise.
Okay. The problem is, Matt, you have to follow the breadcrumbs.
I don't know if that one's coming back though.
You're eventually going to have to be like, "Hey Hudson, what's going on? Oh, you don't exist anymore. Okay, so who absorbed that ass? Okay, that's Konami. Well, the good news is that Konami doesn't hate video games anymore.
That is good news.
That is good news.
I don't think they realize they own Bloody Roar. That's the problem.
And I think the other thing is that most likely in the absorption of Hudson Soft into Konami proper, you absolutely lost the source code to all of those games. Like, there's no way that shit exists anymore, dude.
Yeah, they dragged those files to the recycling bin, emptied it, then threw the computer
real
into
fucking
a shredder.
quick in 07.
Yeah.
Man. I don't know, man. At least we know that Capcom had source code for Marvel vs. Capcom 2 of all things, and they're emulating like the other games to a certain degree. So I'd imagine CVS2 is the same way. Those games came back, 3D 2D-ish games. I'd be very curious if they just like emulate Bloody Roar 1 and 2 if there's a collection of some kind.
Well,
That'd be nice.
You know,
we want all that.
A friend of mine, Casey Mungillo, is like a very well-known voice actor. They redubbed Bloody Roar 2 on like a proprietary engine that's associated with like Limited Run, their Carbon engine that they use to like get old games emulated. And they were able to redub the game with like, you know, more modern voice actors because, you know, the dub of that is really rough. And like that's on a CD, like you can just play it. And I think even plays on modern, you can just put it in a PlayStation and stuff.
Yeah.
As like a proof of concept. And like, you know, will anything ever happen with that? I hope one day. But again, I don't think Konami realizes they own this franchise. Like it's just a number or like a name that was filed away and put into the computer, and then the computer was shredded, like I said before. So, but it's like Konami never had a fighting game franchise. You think about it, like of all the major Japanese companies, and it's still a major one nowadays, now that's putting out way more games and things, like Sega is like the last one that was like, okay, now we're doing our fighting game franchise. Like, give it a shot.
Bloody Roar always existed in the same way that like Project Justice and Rival Schools existed, where it's like, oh, we're just going to release moderately budget small games.
Yeah.
And they're going to come out and they're going to sell moderate numbers to small numbers, but that's fine. We'll effectively make a little bit of money like here and there. And it's hard to imagine any of those older games, BR like 1 and 2, and even Primal Fury and stuff, selling over like a couple 100,000 units, like in general, in its totality. So expecting that to, you know, push numbers in a way nowadays doesn't make much sense, because now there's obviously more people vocal about it, because there's a vocal amount of folks that loved that shit and was really cool. And it'd be neat to see it taken in a direction that isn't a very cheap game, right? Because they're all made very cheaply. So it would be neat. It feels like it's made for. I don't know if I want to see a Bloody Roar collection, and I don't know if that does particularly well. I don't know if that could be treated like a Darkstalkers Resurrection situation, and I don't think it would go good. If something like Darkstalkers can't perform, then Bloody Roar, I don't know. You'll get hardcore fans that are into it. You need to reinvent Bloody Roar, dude. Like that game needs to be reinvented.
Or if you can get the source code or whatever, maybe you could do an ultimate showdown situation where just take the last good one, Bloody Roar Extreme, the Xbox version, and then try to make that re-release that in some form.
Yeah, but there's also contention there, because most people don't look at Primal Fury Extreme as being the good version of Bloody Roar. It's everyone goes to BR2. So
I mean, that's a good one too, obviously. But
but then BR2 is ancient, where it's like you're going to put a fresh coat of paint over VF2, you know, where it's like,
I just, there's not enough content to do a whole Bloody Roar cast. Like I want to, but I don't think that there is, because the games are all so, you know, similar in how they function and whatever. And like, you know, after 2, not a whole lot of different stuff happens, but I just want it. And every time I bug Guile Winquote, he doesn't make the video on it. So
do you think Bloody Roar has to stay 3D?
Yeah, because it's a 3D game.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So it has to effectively be a sidestepping 3D game with arenas and shit, right?
Have you ever heard, has there ever been a 3D game that, like, the only thing I can think of is Virtua Fighter 2 on the Genesis, where a 3D game said, hey, let's go for a 2D entry.
Oh, sure. Where they flip it. I think the biggest challenge is that 2D games are much cheaper to make.
Yeah.
2D gameplay games, much cheaper to make. So if they go for like a relatively like high budget, we want to remaster a game, and it stays in a 3D environment, 3D engine, 3D impacts, 3D everything, like that is a very difficult game to make.
Therefore, Aiding now can totally do still a 2D like locked camera like game with 3D models.
Yeah, that's where Aiding's experience now is.
Yeah,
is in 2D games.
I'll take anything, really. Ideally, I would want the 3D thing, full arenas, and you know, you can, you know, blah, blah, blah. But like, if it was just like a cheapish looking, like sort of Aiding thing, like kind of how Nen Impact kind of looks now, like I don't mean any disrespect on it, but like we said, it obviously looks like it's lower budget.
Sure.
Like I would still take that, because the theme, the name, the characters, like the gimmick of it is still like strong.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like I wouldn't do this for biofreaks. Like
Right.
as
And-
much
and
as we
that's-
love Sapo, I'm not gonna go to bat for
that's
that.
the thing I sort of like I'm trying to get even anyone that's listening to understand is that there's a reason the 3D fighting game as technology got more and more advanced and things got more and more detailed and things got more and more difficult to make. There's a reason why the 3D fighting game genre went the way of the dodo for a long time, and now it's seemingly coming back in some way, but it's coming back very expensively. Where it's like Tekken is the most expensive it ever has been. Virtua Fighter is about to be the most expensive it ever has been.
Yeah.
Soul Calibur should have gotten more budget, and it needed it. And what happened when Soul Calibur didn't get the budget? They reused like just most things, and it didn't look that good. Oh, it fucking failed, man. So there's an issue with 3D fighting games, true 3D fighting games that aren't jank as fuck, because the majority of the old ones we played were pretty jank and whack. And nowadays, the entire gaming space for fighting games has been 2.5D.
Yeah.
And that is mostly how things operate. Mortal Kombat is technically 2.5D as well. Smash Brothers is too, because they are hard to make and they are really expensive. And the expertise for 3D fighting games resides at Bandai Namco and Sega.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that actually even know how to make that shit only exist in those places.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Katie knows how to make it.
Because I feel like if you're an indie fighting game, you're not going to make a
That's why they
3D
don't
fighting
exist.
game. Yeah.
There's barely any of them. If there is any of them, like they're very rudimentary and they're like not like really big crazy games, or they are effectively like simpler games like a Power Stone you know,
Yeah.
where they don't try to go the full 3D like fighting
like
game aspect.
more of
Let's
like a
make it
party game at
platformer,
this
you know?
point. Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
I mean, I played some garbage fighting games on Steam that were like relatively new that were 3D, but it's like, you know, it's someone that
They have the
did an
same jank
asset
as old
flip.
PS1 games do, you know, like PS1, PS2.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
unfortunate. You know, there's one thing that we totally forgot to talk about is fighting game of the year, Tekken 8 at the Game
Absolutely.
Awards.
It absolutely is.
Multiverses was robbed.
Yeah, Multiverses was robbed. Marvel vs. Capcom Collection was robbed.
Yeah.
Okay. So Max, last week, me, Justin, and Kyle Winquote said what do we think should win and what will win, and we all unanimously said Grand Blue. And I would, I know, but when we were all really thinking about it, like what of these games have had zero issues, have had like not blowback on certain decisions, and have like consistently delivered content in a timely manner, and I was like, yeah, I don't even really play Grand Blue. I played some of it and I messed around with some characters, but just the stuff with Tekken recently and just weird shit happening and miscommunications and
So the weird shit with Tekken being the monetization?
just that and
And the people
I don't know,
and the
there's-
people just hating the game. Everyone's just
Hate,
complaining
like-
about the game and whatever. I
Well,
felt like there
okay,
was way more positive in Grand Blue versus Tekken.
Well, okay, so Grand Blue is a 5-year-old game.
Well,
number
no,
one.
that's
At the
Rising,
time of its
yeah.
nomination,
Rising.
a 4-year-old game.
Rising.
No, Rising,
Yeah,
Rising.
Rising. No, well, are we ignoring that it was based on Grand Blue Fantasy Versus?
No, we're not ignoring
Right.
it, but
So, I mean, yeah, it is good. I know I'm saying it is good, but all I'm saying is that, like, the negativity towards Tekken and what Tekken is at a high level of, like, this is a super offensive guess game, is the same things that Tekken 7 fans were bitching about Tekken 7 when that game first came out, about all the issues that game had. Like,
Yeah.
the Tekken fans hate their own game, and they're very vocal about it. I think for the most part, the game is still being ironed out, but it's like, if you want the actual controversy of Tekken, it was the fact that they released a shop after the game was out, and that wasn't included at the start or communicated at the beginning. And then that shop was like, here's all your customization items or more of them, and you have to charge you for them. So people were pissed.
Yeah.
Agreeably
Yeah, but
so, right?
But it was also like the time in between characters was like super long. There was like no communication with it,
Sure.
and then it's like, oh, now they're here. Then the stage thing with Heihachi's
yeah.
update,
Yeah.
and then like patch stuff like Eddie being like super broken, like. All of that, maybe it's because it's fresh in my mind, right? But all of that made me go, it's like, yeah, maybe Grand Blue, it would be cool, like, if that would win. But we all said Tekken's going to win.
Yeah, because Tekken at launch, when it comes out, is arguably one of the most feature-rich and functional fighting games ever made.
I actually thought
How did you get away from that?
Dragon Ball was gonna win.
No.
Dragon
Ball didn't reviewed well, but didn't Tekken reviewed as good as like fucking Tekken 3, Tekken 5.
I'm just thinking of people that like, if they're on the site and they're like, oh, I never played a fighting game before, but I know Dragon Ball. That's why I was assuming that.
Well, that's not who was voting on this. This wasn't fan voted.
Oh, this wasn't fan voted. I thought it was fan voted.
Isn't the of all the votes? Isn't there a percentage that fans?
It's
10%. A say in.
Oh,
fans get 10% in how things eventually go, but no amount of fan vote was going to make Dragon Ball take it over Tekken.
I don't know.
It does. Well, so here's the thing: it's like if 10 people are voting and they're actually from the industry and gave Tekken 9 and 10 out of 10 when it came out, they're all obviously voting for Tekken, right? Because it was on one of the best reviewed fighting games ever. So that's a big deal, and it deserves it 100% when it came out. Dragon Ball did not. Dragon Ball was like obviously well reviewed, but it reviewed like low 80s. So about what all of those games review at, So if 9 out of 10 people are going to be like Tekken because clearly that was the best reviewed game of this year, and then 1% is like Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball's not winning.
Okay.
Because the fans account for one.
He's using
magic, math and logic. But you know what? But you know what? Grand Blue still got robbed because they got the best comeback story of all time.
Grand Blue does have a good game's amazing. I said any other year, Grand Blue should have won. It 100% should have been the victor if it came out like the year of when Multiverses came out,
like last year.
First time.
No, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, yeah.
Should have won if it came out then. It should have won then. But it clearly was not like against like the heavy hitters. The problem is that like even in a review situation, in comparison to even something like MK1, like review wise, the issue is that Grand Blue overall is a hyper visually stylized anime as fuck game.
Yeah,
it is.
And even in comparison to the industry at large, MK1 reviewed somewhat well. So even if it was against MK1, I don't know what wins that. From this industry's perspective,
I mean, the beginning of MK1 wasn't bad.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, that's when I liked it.
Well,
yeah, that's when I liked it.
These are the people that decide. The Game Awards is decided by a committee of people like the Academy, and I know a lot of them. So it's like how things are chosen and how they boil down and who eventually picks what. It's like 90 people from across the world. They talk about this on the site.
Okay,
but that's why the Game Awards are fundamentally weird because, like, unlike movies or something, it's like there's this huge disparity between like popularity of something in the gaming space.
Sure.
Like Tekken is so well known versus like another fighting game that you like. Let's just say there was another much smaller fighting game, but it was like better.
Yeah.
In whatever metric you want to say, it's like if you go with that, you're gonna have a whole swath of people angry because it's the same thing with like Balatro. Everyone's like, "What is that? I've never heard of it. Why are people saying it's good? Why isn't like my AAA game?"
Balatro is like the indie, like the film at the Oscars that no one's ever heard of before, and it's winning. Yeah,
exactly. So like, but in the Oscars at least, or whatever the other award show, it's like you don't hear that much blowback because it's not the space that you're in. Like the discourse on your timelines and such. So it's always kind of like weird to me, like when they have those situations where it's like, this is the more well-known thing, but is there something that's actually better in whatever metric they're looking for? And I mean, I didn't even get to watch the show. I just got to see like timelines and stuff. Like, and I saw whatever. Holy shit, Onimusha, Capcom.
Yeah, Capcom went ham.
And so just to give them some credit, it seemed like the show is like the best one they've possibly ever had, I think, in terms of its structure and its announcements. And the only thing is like I think RPG of the year was not even handed to someone. RPG of the year was like, hey, this one RPG of the year, moving on. I'm like, yeah, RPGs are pretty dead. It's a dead genre. No one plays them anymore. Good call. Like I couldn't.
I mean, they gave Harada the prize at the pre-show. It wasn't even on the main show.
Fighting games were at the pre-show.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was literally like the first. It was the first prize announcement. He came in, said something for like 10 seconds, and then that was it. And I'm like,
fighting games are always in the pre-show segment with like best esport and best esports player, best content creator, that kind of stuff.
No, the esports player and the content creator, they were on the main show. Jeff announced it.
Yeah, they're on the main this year.
This year they announced it.
They're like side announcements.
Yeah, they were side announcements. Yeah,
they're just like that person won, moving on. This person won, moving on. That's the way it's done.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was pretty sad. I was like, damn, they should have gave fighting at least, go to stage.
It has always been that way.
Harada should have worn like "Don't ask me for shit" shirt then for that.
It was
shot.
actually funny because he said, "Don't ask me for he didn't curse," and I'm like, okay, so you can't curse on the show. And then while watching the show, there was that guy that make It Takes Two or whatever. I forgot what game, but
sure.
He started cursing like a storm. I'm like, oh, then you can curse. All right, I guess so.
Because he's Jeff's friend.
Oh,
so
I see.
He's allowed. It's fine.
So I think there's obviously animosity for Tekken 8 right now, and I think that exists because Elon Musk owns Twitter. Like I really do. I think like a bit of the vitriol and the exaggerated angriness of games is being exacerbated.
Get brought up more because
I would like to guys remind you that all that Street Fighter 6 seems super good right now, and everyone's super happy about it. I'd like you to go back to your mind space early this year, late last year, when Akuma was not out. And everyone was like, who the hell are these DLC characters? They suck. Like, nobody seemed happy about it. And everyone was big. This game actually is ass, was what was being said about Street Fighter 6 around late 2023, early 2024. Akuma came out, everything changed. And now Terry and Mai were announced, everything changed.
Well, on the last episode with Guile Winquote, we were saying how like we discussed a little bit how like some people are just like, we're just so tired of throw loops. The patch didn't like fix it, and we need something to shake up the game now. Just addressing the kind of sentiment like we've kind of seen on like sites and whatever. I'm getting tired of the game. Like I'm just getting a little bit.
It
tired
happens 7 to 8 months after every single fighting game. Every time. People are sick of it because they've spent their entire life playing it and playing nothing else, and they're like, I can't stand this shit anymore. And then something happens that gets a character shows up that gets a bunch of people into it. Like the same thing also happened to Tekken 7 with Geese and Noctis, where it's like, oh yeah, the way people feel about this game really changed at that point, where it's like it started to get much more popular.
It definitely did.
Yeah. And that was Akuma for Street Fighter 6. Like it was when Akuma came out, everyone was like big happy with the game again. It was like, wow, that's crazy. That was the shift. Okay.
One character.
It's sad to say, but it's like I don't think Terry quite got that. Maybe Mai will though.
To a degree. But I think Terry and Mai together, was a big deal for Street Fighter. Just in its totality.
Well, you need a bloody roar character in there now.
Well, don't worry. I mean, I think Street Fighter 6 is more popular now for Terry players because he got a lot better. So
that's true.
I think that was the problem. Like when he first came out, I'm like, oh, he's not doing it for me, right? But now, I mean, a lot of people are super happy about it. So I think maybe they'll go with that route of Mai when she launches. Like she won't just be dry. I think she'll have sauce.
Oh
yeah, because now that there's Mai, they will buy.
Ooh.
Well, if there's one thing that Terry always had, he had sauce. He just didn't have frames. So
it
was a very small thing that could have made him very good.
Yeah, that's true.